I didn't actually know what the Y was. Went to Quad Day. You were mentioning Quad Days coming up and all of that. I went to Quad Day. I picked up materials from probably 20 different groups that were all over there, and I had this idea that I could be in every single one. It doesn't really work. But one of them a couple of them that I picked up that year, Visavi and Red Bison, were based out of the Y. I didn't know that this was the Y or there was anything any way different from any of the other buildings on campus. I just assumed it was a university building, which is why student groups were here for whatever reason. But I got involved back then, and I didn't realize this was a different place till probably 2007, 5 years later, when I came back for Friday 4. And so I stayed involved in those groups. I would come and go, etc. But I don't think I consciously figured out that there was a bigger entity here, that there was the Y, and that groups were part of something else, or until 2007, 2008, somewhere in that area, when a completely different group I was with, Engineers Without Borders, decided that they should apply to become part of the Y. And then that's what eventually got me onto the student board as their rep. Then I spent an extraordinarily long time on it, and did lots of cool stuff. I know that this was basically a place where you congregated. So there were, I was very involved in campus environmental groups and things, and we had a very long drawn out saga trying to build a wind turbine on campus that never actually did get built. But we spent a lot of time fighting the university on it and working on a climate action plan, trying to get them to shut the coal plant down, doing all sorts of things. And so many of those organizing meetings were here at the Y. It almost feels like every time something important happened, there would be a meeting at the Y. There would be a meeting in the basement or in the lounge or any number of places where groups that were here and groups that were not here, it was a place you come together and say, okay, what are we going to do now? How are we going to respond to this? Where do we go from here? How do we respond? How do we act? It was always a place you could go. You didn't have to book anything. You didn't really have to schedule anything. You could show up and some place would be there, even if you hadn't planned anything in advance. Some of the first coal organizing meetings happened over here and launched out that campaign. There were meetings responding to every time there was a wind turbine crisis. I can think of several things that came down here. Once, a student who was from the Y, who actually got that whole process started off in 2003 when the first green fee was passed. She came down when the wind turbine was cancelled in 2008. Her name's Jen Walling, and she's out in Springfield. That meeting, okay, let's think about what we can do next. How do we respond to that? Let's just think through it. That was here. It's just where you came to do stuff like that.